Hey everybody, what's up? Kevin here from the SOT Rocks YouTube channel, and today we're going to be reviewing the second album from Diamante, It's American Dream. Before we get started though, please follow SOT Rocks on places like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On all those platforms, you'll get the 30-second Song of the Day feature, which will get you to know with some of the up-and-coming emerging acts in rock and metal and their subgenres today, along with some of the heavy hitters as well to expand your musical horizons. We also post many different questions on those platforms as well to connect with you, comment with you, and just get to know you a little bit better, connect with you in that way. And every single Tuesday on Instagram, we post a different IGTV video, which is a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening here at MSOTD Rocks, or sometimes I just rant because, rock and metal elitists need to get ranted on at times. And every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, we go live on Instagram for you to get to know what's going on here. Just have fun with us. Come talk, chit-chat. Anything can happen on those platforms on that live stream. Heck, there was one time we played Cards Against Humanity, and it was fun as all hell. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel because not only do you get these albums, you also get the Kevin Figures Out series where I try and figure out if I like a certain band or not in the scene that I'm not that well versed in. I did do one on Diamante as well. We also do different top 10 lists, different band videos, I should say, about emerging bands and artists in the scene today. A lot of this good stuff as well. And on this YouTube channel, this is also where the Chord Progression Podcast lives. It is our very own podcast where we're interviewing a lot of the upcoming, emerging, and sometimes the heavier hitters in the rock and metal scene today. We sit down with them, talk about music, like we're just sitting in a room, having a beer, shooting the shit, having a good old time. We've interviewed artists like Joey Arena from Arena and Outlier with Justin DeBleek, formerly of Ice Nine Kills, from Ashes to New, Rosie, Kingdom Collapse, Modern Day Escape, Dream Shade, and even Diamante? Yeah, that's coming out the day after this releases, so make sure you're subscribed to the Chord Progression Podcast for that. You can subscribe right here on this YouTube channel, or you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart Radio. Links in the description below for everything. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends down the street, tell everybody on your social media platforms. Heck, tell your dad. Let's go. So a little bit of background before we jump into American Dream. Comin' Hot was Diamante's first album, which came out back in 2018. And in 2019, she toured extensively with bands like Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace. And I ended up seeing both those bands in 2019. Except they were not on tour with Diamante at the time, so missed out on that one. I did mention I did do a Kevin Figures Out video on Diamante because I really didn't know that much about her. And I listened to Comin' Hot, and with Comin' Hot, I liked her sound because her voice reminded me of like a mix between Taylor Momsen and Ash Costello from New Year's Day. It had a little bit of a raspiness to it, but also had this powerful force behind it at the same time as well. However, on Comin' Hot, I was concerned that she might be pigeonholed at times into this more anthemic rocker kind of vibe because that's what the album really was. I was hoping to see her expand. On the singles that have come out on American Dream and since the release of Comin' Hot, I've seen a little bit more of expansiveness there. So when it came down to music, I was like, yeah, I like Diamante's music. I was a big fan of it going forward, and I couldn't wait to see what American Dream presented even further down the line. What has Diamante been up to since 2019 really kind of came to a close? Well, she was dropped from Better Noise Music and has released the American Dream on her own independently. We've seen some bands do this recently, especially with While She Sleeps, doing it with their whole entire Sleep Society campaign, and it has worked out well for them, and we'll see what happens with Diamante on this one. I did talk about it on the Chord Progression Podcast, and it does seem like the right move overall. You get to see why that is. And then she's also going to college during this time as well, and it kind of gives a little more of a relatable factor to it because there's a lot of us that have gone through college, have been working on different things as well. So it gives a more relatability feel to what Diamante is going to potentially be talking about on this record. Enough about the background. Let's just get into this bad boy. So going to the composition, construction, and instrumentation behind American Dream, the album, what I ended up seeing from the singles initially was we did get some more of that anthemic style that we got on Comin' Hot. And specifically, we take a look at Ghost Myself because it did have that same anthemic hard rock drive that Comin' Hot had, but it had this more grander feel to it, a little bit more of a stronger passion behind it. So I could see she was definitely evolving her style to even include some more that was in her wheelhouse that came off of Comin' Hot. But then taking a look at some of the other singles that she had on there, you could see a little bit more of this expansive kind of style, sometimes in a more of a hard rock variety with a song like Obvious, because when I listened to this one, the instrumental standpoint of this really reminded me a lot of 3 Days Grace, especially more of that Adam Gontier style. It really came in strong, but when I get to the vocal sections, this is really what's going to show. Iris, the cover of the Google Doll song that she with Ben Burley and Breaking Benjamin, really put this out there as well in a much of a softer sense, because you do get more of this acoustic, like Sum 41 with you vibe, especially at the beginning. And I've always liked that because it does provide a lot more of a, more drop back, a little bit more of a contemplative tone and more of the rock sphere. But when you go through the rest of the song, especially once you get into that chorus, you're gonna get more of this ballad hard rock style. And you're gonna see that Diamante can also work within more of this melodic ballad, full-on hard rock style that is here on Iris. So I could start seeing some of that expansiveness to her composition, construction, and instrumentation away from that potential pigeonhole of rock anthemic person. But I was hoping for more once I got to the deep cuts. And then when we got to the deep cuts on American Dream, I pretty much got what I was hoping for in terms of Diamante expanding her musical reach and showing that she is much more than that potential just pigeonholed rock anthemic woman in rock and metal. And this was absolutely fantastic because you're seeing the expansive reach, you're seeing her get a lot more creative with some of her stuff. And let's take a look at some of these deep cuts because some of them, they were good. Take a look at American Dream, the titular track. In the verses and the pre-chorus, Diamante does bring in some more of these pop influences, more modern influences as well, along with this more driving hard rock style behind it. So we're seeing a little bit more of this foray back into, pop, more modern stuff. So I'm a little concerned about that. But the way it leads into the chorus to go back into that super heavy anthemic hard rock style, it's a great lead in, it's a great amp up, and I absolutely love it. The bridge, though, does go rather soft with a lot of modern influence, a little bit more of electronic influence behind it. Again, not something I'm the biggest fan of, but as it leads back into that powerful chorus, the contrast game here is a huge plus. Also, Diamante went with some more ballad styles as well. Take a look at a song like Unlovable, where on one hand, the piano is a smart move for the flow of the song, but the over-consistent feel of the piano piece really becomes a little bit mundane from time to time. However, this isn't the biggest part of the song here when it comes to Unlovable. It is Diamante's vocals, which is going to be the standout part of this, which we'll get to in the next section. And then Hopeless, because the song begins like another acoustic ballad, but then it builds more into this hard rock melodic ballad like we saw on the cover of Iris. And the start really concerned me. It's looking like, oh boy, we're gonna get that same more melodic ballad stuff. But we saw this more hard rock ballad feel to it, and it was just on her own as well. And the lead into that really didn't work out well in my mind. Take a look at a song like Unfuck You, not censoring that, with the modern influences on it, and it was interesting to say the least. In the verses, the rougher guitar does maintain its style here, but the electronic backbeat really kind of gives it more of this modern, more poppy kind of vibe. And you guys know me, I'm never really the biggest fan of this, but that backbeat really isn't overpowering, so it doesn't overtake the guitar on this song at all in the verses. And what this does is it mixes it well again to kind of give both sides the aisle, that hard rock style, that more metal fan, and also the more pop fan, kind of what they wanted here. Take a look at the chorus. It kind of takes more of this melodic style that I expect on like a New Year's Day song, in all honesty. And the rougher guitars overall, let the drums play with that heavier style on the toms and the floor tom a lot more. And this provides with a heavy and a lot more impactful sound than we've been getting on some of these other songs. At the same time, more of that, anthemic style that we have known from Diamante. And it is the statement part of the song, so it makes total sense. The bridge did have a deeper electronic feel that, to be honest, I didn't really care for in the end. And the reason behind that is because it does fit overall with the overall theme of the song, but the transition work is what isn't the best here because it took out more of that raw energy and really didn't transition it back well when we got back to the final chorus. So overall, when it comes to composition, construction, instrumentation on American Dream by Diamante, I pretty much got what I was hoping for here in terms of seeing Diamante take that anthemic hard rock style at her core and expand it to so many other places within rock and metal, bringing more of a ballad style, more of a hard rock ballad style, more acoustic ballad, with some more pop influences in there. The only real kind of grip I have with this album is the fact that sometimes those transitions from the bridge to the chorus with more of those poppier, more modern influences don't really work out in the best, to my opinion. However, for the majority of this album, I was really a big fan of how this was done. We saw the expanding styles from Diamante, and this worked out well. Now it's time to take a look at the vocals from Diamante, and of course, we know that Diamante works incredibly well in that hard rock anthemic style. And like I said, I was hoping to see her kind of really capitalize on that, but then also show a lot more range as well, so I wanted to see her really expand on this. And there's 10 songs on this album. I'm going to take a look at 5 of them specifically because I think it really shows what I'm trying to show here with the fact that her range expanded and it was good. Take a look at the titular song American Dream because in the verses, Diamante does have a little bit of like this deeper, more breathy tone to her. So it's like, okay, it's kind of fitting well with some of those more popular modern influences over the hard rock anthemic track. When you get to the pre-chorus, the breathiness does pick up a little bit in pitch gets a little bit higher, so it does feel like you're kind of going to a dream, but the way it transitions right back into that classic anthemic hard rock sound, the chorus, I mean, American Dream is my favorite song on this album, and the drive behind it, the way it's led into, you're seeing an expanding style from Diamante. I was a huge fan of this. Now going into obvious, because it does have more of that 3 Days Grace, Adam Gontier era feel style to the instrumentals, and Diamante's vocals do have a little bit of a deeper, more raspier kind of tone to them that really fit well with this overall driving hard rock track that isn't necessarily as anthemic. It shows a lot of power, a lot of gusto behind it. And I even thought about this. I'm like, this is the song when I was really listening to her music, doing that Figures Out video. This was the song that clinched it for me. This is the song that really got me into the kind of music that Diamante makes. So I was like, all right. I wonder what would happen if she ever went on stage with 3 Days Grace and just sang a song with them. She has done a duet before, but I kind of want to see her do it on her own, like do a cover of one of their songs. Ooh, there's an idea. Now there's I Love Myself for Hating You, which does have more of this poppier pop rock kind of sound to it with that anthemic flow. And in the vocals, we're going to see Diamante use a little bit more of a higher pitch, especially in the verses. But when you get to the chorus, it's going to still have that higher pitch, but it's going to have that anthemic drive to it. But especially when she ends by saying, I love myself for hating you, it has that little more of that deeper, more anthemic, just straightforward rock tone that she has. I thought of this as, imagine if Taylor Swift wrote a pop rock anthemic song and drank a can of Stone Cold Steve Austin can of whoop ass and made a song. This is what happened here with her vocals, and this was just pure awesome. Now take a look at Iris, the cover she did with Ben Burnley, and with this track it was interesting due to the fact that in the beginning verses, we saw Diamante go with more of a breathy style, especially with more of the acoustic backing behind it, but when it was compared with Ben Burnley's softer vocals, it really did work out well in overall contrast. But when they did it more of this anthemic, more powerful kind of vocal over the verses, and kind of contrasted those between her and Ben Burnley, again, you saw the power behind both of their vocals and how they really draw out with this great rock sound. Then the duet overlaying how they did in the chorus just shows how powerful of a vocalist Diamante really is and how well this worked out with literally any kind of rock style. So, I mean, it just keeps getting better and better every step of the way when it goes on with Diamante's vocals. Now let's go to Hopeless, because when it comes to the ballad style of this song, we see two different styles from Diamante. In the acoustic front, we're seeing more of this breathy, more kind of exhausted tone from her at the same time as well, but it fits in so with the theme and with the piano backing, really give this feeling of hopelessness, this feel of just downtroddenness that really works well in the song. But then you get to the full line instrumentals where you get this more hard rock ballad. The anthemic style vocal is still there, but the melodic pacing on her vocal set is a lot more present here. And it just shows the power behind that anger of feeling hopeless at times. It just shows the energy that's behind it, and it worked out incredibly well on this track. So overall, when it came to Diamante's vocal set, I was hoping we'd see an expanding reach on her vocal set in the whole entire album, which is exactly what we got. And this just shows that when it comes down to it, I'm thinking you're thinking about the big leading ladies in rock and metal. You're thinking Lizzie Hale, Taylor Momsen, Maria Brink, Ash Costello. They might need to start making room because Diamante is coming in strong with a performance on like American Dream, and man, I'm all in for it. Now let's go to the themes and styles of American Dream. And when it comes to Diamante, she told me on the Chord Progression Podcast, which you can check out on May 6, 2021, that the themes are really relating a lot to her life. She's putting her life, her soul, everything that's happened to her in the past couple of years really out front here for all of us to see. So we're basically getting a whole inside look at her. And taking a couple examples, she talks about the whole entire dream of moving from Boston to LA and just really focusing on that whole entire American Dream style like an American Dream. She talked about different relationships, from one-sided relationships, potentially questioning if she's even worth loving or not, to just potential just bad times and just, revenge stories as well. Just kind of like, oh, I can't believe I stood for this. On songs like I Love Myself for Hating You, Unfuck You, Unlovable, and Obvious. And then other things when it comes to personal growth, such as Growth is a wake-up call when it comes to growing through your own mental state. But how do these themes play off the styles of these songs? Let me put it bluntly. These themes are all going to depend upon Diamante's vocal set to really deliver a lot of these, because these are personal stories, or these are personal instances and personal happenings that have happened to her. And she's letting us know about the emotional toll behind them, the pain, the struggle, the joy, every single emotion that can be felt with all the different things that she opened up about on this album. It's all dependent upon her vocal set. And her vocal set delivered on pretty much every single song. There might have been one point where I'm like, not the biggest fan, but when I went through those 5 examples, she hit on every single one. You take a look at the other 5, she's going to hit on every single one of those as well. So this is just an incredible 2 thumbs up at this point. All right, time to give my rating on American Dream by Diamante, and it is... I'm going to give American Dream a 7.5 out of 10. Alright, 7.5 out of 10. That's a pretty strong outing from Diamante on her second album. What I like about this album, and the biggest thing, is the fact that we saw Diamante's growth as a vocalist from just being that, potential pigeonhole as a hard rock anthemic vocalist to a lot more. We saw different songs where she went more of a ballad style on songs like Hopeless and Unlovable, where we saw more of a breathy kind of tone to her vocals at the same time, but it really brought out the overall theme of the song. We also saw at different times where she showed that she'd take more of that anthemic role and really draw it out a little bit more on songs like Obvious and Iris to really give it more either, this more melodic backing, but also sometimes more of this straightforward hard rock style that takes that anthemic part out of it. But also on songs like Both Myself and American Dream, we saw that she could bring in some of those pop references as well, but still create a heavy anthemic hard rock track. So we really got the whole package from Diamante on this one. It's what I wanted to see, and it's what we got, and I couldn't be happier about it. Back to the point about songs where she kind of expanded on that rock range but didn't go with that anthemic style. There are times where I saw different instances where she brought in some different inspirations from other bands in the rock and metal scene that really kind of came out here to really show that she is really powerful as a vocalist and as a songwriter overall. Take a look at Obvious. Again, it reminded me a lot of like a 3 Days Grace Adam Gontier style song, and it just was powerful. It just worked really well with her vocals to put more of this more straightforward, in-your-face hard rock style. Take a look at Iris, a little bit of a softer style, but really working well alongside Ben Burnley as well to really bring out the power behind it. And then I Love Myself for Hating, which is like if Taylor Swift, again, drank a can of Stone Cold Steve Austin can of Whoop-Ass and collaborated with Joan Jett and wrote a kick-ass pop rock anthemic track. Diamante absolutely killed it on this, and I don't think you can explain it any better than that. It really makes sense if I explain it like that. And then even the deeper cuts, we saw some other influences there as well. We saw some more ballady influences, but on songs like Unfuck You and on American Dream, we saw some more of these modern influences starting to take shape. And a lot of times with these modern influences taking shape, some electronic, some more poppy stuff, especially on American Dream, the titular song, seeing how they brought in more of this kind of just pop building feel, but then you got to the chorus, you got this great anthemic drive to the song. Again, that build just really does work out well and shows the power behind Diamante, especially with how her vocals go from a little bit of a deeper breathy style in the verses to a breathier, higher pitch style in the pre-chorus, and the anthemic power hard rock vocals in the chorus. This just really worked out well. Again, the growth of Diamante as a vocalist and as a songwriter is incredibly prevalent on this album, and it is all for the good. What are some things I dislike about The American Dream? Not a lot, but the thing that stands out to me the most is on songs like Unfuck You, on songs like Wake Up Call, and American Dream itself, the modern influences that really take shape in the bridge kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit. And the reason why is because, yes, they do have a softer, a little bit more popular, more electronic vibe. I get it, don't worry. But it's how they transition to those pieces, because it really is just a quick move from the second chorus into those bridges, and then from those bridges back in the chorus. There's really no good energy transfer in my mind, so I'm a little bit thrown off those, and it does kind of just chop up the song a little bit, but not too bad. The reason I say that is because, again, you know me, I like stuff that's a lot harder, a lot heavier, so I'm a little bit more prevalent with that, and I love the way the energy flow happens. I'm always talking about that, so I always look at that a little bit. I do think those songs are still very good. I do think American Dream is the best song on this whole entire album, but I do have to call out some of the flaws that I think are on there. I'm going to be honest about it, and that's kind of it. So yeah, context. So now time for my final thought, and I was afraid at first because I didn't want to see Diamante potentially get pigeonholed as that anthemic hard rock woman, and that's all she could do. Because I wanted to see her expand, I want to see her do more, I want to see her really take that throne on top of rock and metal alongside vocalists like Maria Brink, Lizzie Hale, Ash Costello, Taylor Momsen. And what I saw in American Dream was just that. The way that Diamante was able to open up to us with a lot of different personal stories, a lot of different personal references in a lot of these songs, whether from relationships, whether from her mental state, whether from different personal things that have happened to her, and just even the positive times as well. We saw this great dynamic set from her on this album. Whether it was with a more poppy sense, with American Dream and I Love Myself for Hating You, whether it was more of this anthemic style, once again, like, again, American Dream or Ghost Myself, whether it was a little more of this straightforward hard rock style, like on Obvious, or if we even got some more ballad stuff behind as well, such as Unlovable and Hopeless. But what we saw from her vocal set was just this expanding way that we saw that she cannot be pigeonholed as that anthemic hard rock woman. No, she can be set as one of the best vocalists, one of the best songwriters in rock and roll day with how American Dream turned out. So will this album end up in the top 10 for us at the end of 2021? Right now it's on the list. I'm not going to tell you where, but we've got a lot of time to go, so we'll see where it happens. But this is definitely going to be an album you're going to want to check out. So thank you guys for watching this review. I'm Kevin from Diamante Rocks YouTube channel. You can find the links for the album to stream it and find Diamante online below. You also find the link to the Chord Progression Podcast episode, which comes out the day after this review comes out, below. Be sure to check it out because we talk to Diamante about all this stuff and more. I'm Kevin from Diamante Rocks YouTube channel. We're going with the hat flip. Hey, I caught it. See ya.